Hello students, today we are going to study chapter 3 Fiber to Fabric. Fibers. As you have already studied fibers in your previous class. So here again we are going to discuss what are fibers. Fibers are long, strong and flexible thread-like structures that are used to make fabrics. We know that we wear different types of clothes which are made of different fabrics, and these fabrics are made of fibers. So in this chapter we'll study about different types of fibers and how these fibers are used to make fabrics. Now, types of fibers. Fibers can be divided into two types: natural fibers and synthetic fibers. Natural fibers are the fibers that we get from plants and animals. For example, we get cotton and jute from plants, and we get wool and silk from animals. So these are natural fibers. Next is synthetic fiber. Synthetic fibers are the fibers that are made from chemicals, and these fibers are also known as human made fibers. For example, nylon and rayon. You have already studied about plant fibers in previous class. But now in this chapter we'll study about animal fibers. So what are animal fibers? Fibers that we get from animals are called animal fibers. For example, wool and silk. We get wool from sheep, rabbit, camel, goat, etc. And we get silk from silkworms. Now first we will discuss about wool. We know that we wear woolen clothes in winter. Do you know why we wear woolen clothes? Yes, because they keep us warm. They keep us warm because air gets trapped in the spaces between the wool fibers. And since air is a bad conductor of heat, so it does not allow the body heat to escape and keeps the body warm. And wool is present as thick coat of hair on the body of wool yielding animals like sheep, goat, rabbit, etc. Wool has also high tensile strength and has high elasticity. It can absorb large amount of water, and it is lightweight and can be easily dyed. Now next we will discuss rearing of sheep. What do you understand by rearing? Rearing means to look after the sheep by providing them food, shelter and health care. And the person who looks after the sheep is called shepherd. Sheep are herbivores and they eat mainly grass and leaves. And sheep are also fed a mixture of pulses, corn, jowar, oilcakes, etc. In India, sheep are mainly reared in hilly regions of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Arunachal Pradesh, and Sikkim, or in the plains of Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. Now, next we will discuss selective breeding. In case of animals, breeding is done to obtain animals with desired characteristics. And in selective breeding, the two individuals of desirable characteristics are selected as parents, and these are then crossed, means made to reproduce, to obtain new breed of animals having desirable characteristics of both the parents. So this process is very useful. Why? Because through this process we can get high yield breeds of sheep, and these breeds of sheep can give us thick coat of hair and good quality wool. This table shows some names of Indian breeds and the quality of wool we get from them and the states where these are found. First one is Lohi. We get good quality wool from them, and these are found in Rajasthan and Punjab. Next one is Rampur Bashair. We get brown fleece from them, and these are found in Uttar Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh. Then next is Nali, that we get carpet wool from them, And the states where these are found are Rajasthan, Haryana, and Punjab. Next is Bhakarwal. We get woolen shawls. We get wool from woolen shawls, and the states where these are found are Jammu and Kashmir. Next is Marwari. We get coarse wool from them, and these are found in Gujarat. And last one is Patanwadi, and we get wool for hosiery, and these are also found in Gujarat. Now, next topic is processing fibers into wool. We know that we get wool from wool yielding animals like sheep, and this is a very long process which involves various steps. So, in this chapter, we'll study about all the steps of obtaining wool from fibers. First one is shearing, second, scoring, third, sorting, fourth, combing, fifth, dyeing, and last one is spinning. Now, next, first step is shearing. Shearing is the process of removing hair from the body of the sheep. In this process, the fleece of the sheep, along with a thin layer of skin, is peeled from the body of the sheep, and it is done manually with a large razor or with an electrically driven shearing machine. Do you know that shearing does not hurt the sheep? Why? Because the uppermost layer of the skin of the sheep is dead. Sheep are sheared in early summer so that they do not feel the heat, and the hair of the sheep grow again before the onset of winters and protect them from cold weather. Next step is scoring. The process of washing the fleece of the sheep to remove dust, dirt, sweat, grease, etc. is called scoring. The fleece of sheep is thoroughly cleaned by washing with soap and lot of water in the tank. But nowadays, scoring is done by machines. Now, next step is sorting. The process of separating the long, fine quality fleece from the remaining inferior quality or broken pieces is called sorting. This step is done after scoring. In this, only fleece of long, fine quality is sent to the factory for further processes. Now, next step is combing. In this, the fleece is combed to remove the bows, and the fewer the bows, the better is the wool. So, we can say the process of removing the bows from the fleece is called combing. In this step, the fibers are straightened. Next step is dyeing. We know that the natural fleece of sheep is black, brown, or white in color. So, these fibers af- obtained after combing are dyed in various colors. The last step of this process is spinning. After dyeing, the straightened fibers are spun or twisted to make yarn, and the wool yarn is either knitted or woven. The longer fibers are knitted into wool for sweaters, and the shorter fibers are woven into woolen clothes. So, this was the process how the fibers are converted into wool. So, next type of animal fiber that we will study in this chapter is silk. Silk is a fine, strong, soft, and shining fiber obtained from silkworms. It is separated from the cocoons of the silkworms, and it is made up of protein. That's why it gives a smell of burning hair when burned. It is also a costly fiber because of its natural shining appearance. And the process of rearing of silkworms for obtaining silk is called sericulture. China leads the world in silk production, and other silk producing countries are India and Japan. Now, before discussing the process of obtaining silk, we need to understand the life cycle of silk moth. In life cycle of silk moth, the first stage is that silk moth lays eggs. They lay pale yellow eggs on the leaves of mulberry tree. The eggs hatch in 2 weeks' time to form caterpillar or silkworm, and the silkworm feed on these leaves of mulberry trees and grow bigger in size. After this stage, the caterpillars or silkworms enter into next stage called pupa. In this stage, the silkworm begins spinning a cocoon by moving its head in the pattern of figure of 8. During these movements of the head, the silkworm secretes silk in liquid form through the tiny opening in its head. Liquid silk is coated in sericin. Now, what is sericin? Sericin is a water-soluble protective gum and it solidifies on contact with the air and becomes silk fiber. Within 2-3 days, the silkworm covers itself completely with silk fibers. And why they make these silk fibers? They make these silk fibers to protect their development stage. So the silky covering spun by the silkworm for its protection is called cocoon. After this stage, here in this stage, the pupa develops completely. When the pupa develops fully, then they form an adult silk moth. Then the cocoon splits up and a beautiful silk moth comes out. Do you know that adult silk moth lives only for few days? So this was the life cycle of silk moth and how a silk moth produces silk fiber. Now next is rearing of silkworms. Rearing of silkworms means to look after the silkworms by providing them proper food and shelter. In this, silk moths are reared and their cocoons are collected to get silk threads. In a silk farm, female silk moths are kept in separate linen bags which are carefully disinfected. Each female silk moth lays around 200 to 500 eggs at a time. These eggs are kept in perforated cardboard boxes on bamboo trays under hygienic and suitable conditions. And these eggs are warmed to a suitable temperature in an incubator. Now, what is incubator? Incubator is an electrically warm box inside which a substance can be kept at a desired temperature. And why these eggs are kept in incubator? So that the larva can hatch from these eggs. Now next, a perforated sheet of paper is placed over the hatching box or tray and chopped mulberry leaves are spread over it. Why these chopped mulberry leaves are spread? Because these caterpillars or larvae will feed on these leaves and after eating these leaves they will grow in size. After 25 to 30 days, the silkworms stop eating and move to a tiny chamber of bamboo in the tree to spin cocoons. Now, small racks or twigs are provided in the trees to which cocoons get attached. And a silkworm completes its cocoon, which is about 4 centimeters long, in about 5 days by producing about 600 to 1200 meters of thin silk fiber. And during the period of spinning its cocoon, a silkworm is transformed into pupa. So this was how rearing of silkworms is done. Now we will discuss how we get silk from these cocoons. First step is boiling. In this step, the cocoons are first boiled in hot water or treated in oven to kill larvae inside. The hot water softens the silkworm sericin so as to allow the unwinding of silk fiber as one continuous thread. Then after this, the next step is reeling. In this process, the threads are taken out from the cocoons and it is done in special machines which unwind the threads or fibers of silk from the cocoon. You know that these fibers are very delicate to handle, and so many of them are reeled together to yield a stronger thread called raw silk. And the damaged or waste cocoons are used to produce an inferior quality of silk, which is called spun silk. So, after reeling, the next step is throwing. The raw silk is twisted to produce thrown silk, and this process is known as throwing. And it prevents the silk from splitting into individual fibers. After this, the next step is dyeing. In this, thrown silk is then dyed for making colored fabrics, and the dyed silk fibers are then spun into silk threads, which are woven into silk clothes by weavers. So, this was the final step of how we get silk from silkworms. Now, let us try to understand this whole process with the help of this flowchart. Okay, so we will start from silk moth. How we get silk from silk moth. First, female silk moth lays eggs in silk farm. Then these eggs are kept in incubator and then they hatch to form larvae, means silkworms. Then these silkworms feed on mulberry leaves and they enter into next stage, that is cocoon. Then this cocoon spins covering around itself, means it cover itself with the silk fiber. Then these cocoons are boiled in hot water or treated in ovens so that the larva can die. Then after this reeling is done, larva will die and the silk thread can be taken out. This process is known as reeling. Then after this we get raw silk, and then raw silk changes to thrown silk with the help of a process throwing. In throwing, raw silk means these silk fibers are twisted into a stronger fiber, which is called thrown silk. And after this is colored, and this is called dyeing. This fiber is colored and into different colors. After dyeing, we get colored silk, and from this colored silk, we send this fiber to factories and industries for weaving, and then finally we get silk clothes. So this was how we get silk from silk moths.